Hi. Sorry, had a bit of a glitch with the call from the US. My name is Neil Beck. I was a family doctor in Perth, Western Australia for 53 years, and also in that time for 5 years had my own addiction clinic where I treated 5,000 addicts in over 40,000 consultations. Altogether, in the 53 years, I had 500,000 consultations, home and hospital visits, and I observed carefully people's lives and what were their biggest problems and what were their biggest joys. What I came to the conclusion was that the biggest problems were mental health problems. The people who suffered most had mental health problems because many of them didn't or couldn't get mental health care and eventually got care on the streets, which of course was all addictive. And my interest in mental health switched to an interest in addiction in the late 1990s when we had a terrible epidemic of heroin addiction in Perth. Because Perth is so isolated, we'd previously really only had tobacco addiction and alcohol addiction, but suddenly we got everything else, uppers and downers, and there were so many people dying from heroin addiction that I felt I had to find out about it. So I started to work 10 hours a week in an addiction clinic which was 99% heroin. I wanted to know what caused addiction, but they didn't know what caused addiction. I went to every addiction clinic in Perth and Sydney and couldn't find a single addiction worker who knew what caused addiction or thought that was important. But I thought it was very important. In health, if you know the cause, it's much easier to help people to get better, and they're much less likely to relapse if you treat the cause. But what was happening was that everyone was being put on methadone and they just kept coming back for repeat prescriptions of methadone, and nothing was being done about their mental health disorders. One day in that clinic where I was working 10 hours a week, I saw 15 heroin addicts and 5 of them had ADHD. They'd had the ADD since early childhood, but they hadn't got diagnosed or treated, and in their teens or 20s or 30s, when heroin became available, they became heroin addicts. So I then looked very carefully at all of the addicts and found that there were about 8 or 10 mental health disorders which were very common in addicts. There was worry, anxiety disorders, including panic attacks, social phobia, obsessive compulsive disorder, and many other phobias. Then there was major depression, bipolar disorder, severe sleep disorders, ADD, ADHD, post-traumatic stress disorder, irritability, anger disorder, and post-traumatic evil focus, obsession with the CIA and Guantanamo Bay and conspiracy theories. And then there was schizophrenia. There was very low self-esteem, which some people had, which caused them great suffering, which they relieved with heroin and became addicts. And then there was autism. And what these people all needed was what we call dual diagnosis. Dual diagnosis is the diagnosis and treatment of their mental illnesses at the same time as the treatment of their addiction. And when their mental illness, their anxiety or their depression or ADD was treated, it was far easier for them